Let's go ahead and welcome in a guy that I think is a fantastic football coach and a great man. And I've had the opportunity, because some of you may know that I worked in Chattanooga for some time, and it is Rusty Wright, the head coach of the Mocs, head coach Chattanooga. Rusty, how are you, sir?
I'm good, guys. Y'all?
We're great. I'm just ready for football to be here.
Yeah, well, it's here. No question about it. It's here. We just got off the practice field this morning, and I'm like, wow, it's already Friday for us. So it's here.
Well, thank you very much for making the time. I've heard coaches say before, when I say I'm ready for football, they're like, oh, I could use a couple more weeks. Is that kind of the coaching mindset in general?
Well, at times, yeah, sure, at times. But then there's sometimes, where you have to go. These guys need to go play. I mean, that's the thing too. You get to a point in time where they need it. That they need it more so than anything else, because they need to find out how good they can be, and then you need to find out as a coach, all right, what do we have to get fixed, and what do we have to work on to get better, and figure out how to move this thing forward.
Is that where your team is right now? You feel like they're ready to get out there and play?
I think so. We'll find out. We'll find out. But I think they are. I know they're excited about playing. We have to figure out if we're ready as a group to go play. But I think they're excited about looking forward to going and playing.
Coach, congratulations on last year getting back to the FCS playoff, and then this year you guys are returned a lot of starters. I did a little research on y'all before this game, and the expectations are much, much higher than they have been in recent years. How have you been able to manage those expectations at Chattanooga to this point?
It's kind of funny. I don't think I've heard one player mention anything about where we've been picked or where we've been decided to go. We went out and went to work during fall camp. It was probably one of the hardest fall camps I've put them through since I've been here. And I think they'll tell you that we just went back to doing what we do. And, if we can stay healthy, if we catch a break here and there, I think we have an opportunity to have a really good football team. I really do. But we've got to take care of ourselves and do the things we're supposed to do to do that. And it's odd. Honestly, I can't remember even hearing a player even make mention of us being picked first in our league or where anybody thinks we are. I think they just I think this group just puts their heads down and just goes to work every day. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but they go to work every day and they show up and try to get it figured out.
I know that you guys have played Rocky Top there during practice, and you had a player who said he's I think sick of it. So it was a funny thing, but we've heard before because that happens. But how difficult is it to simulate the type of environment that your players will step into on Saturday?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, that's the thing is we can't. We don't practice in a stadium, so it's really hard when you don't practice in a stadium to simulate that loud a noise. We got the music blaring and doing all that, but there's very few people who can simulate what we're getting ready to step into on Saturday. I don't care who you are and where you're at. It's hard to do. So we try to do the best we can. We got some things to kind of help us if it is that loud and all that, and we'll see if it works. If not, we'll figure something else out when we get out there.
Is this a good time for the first game of in-helmet communications?
Yeah, we don't have it. FCS, we don't have it. Okay. I mean, but honestly, I don't understand it at the FBS level either, especially when you have a team like Tennessee that plays as fast as they do. They don't huddle. I get it in the NFL. Everybody in the NFL huddles. But when you have a team that's no huddle, they still have to signal to the wideouts and do all that. It's not like – so I don't know if it's going to change much at their level, of what they're doing.
Gotcha. All right. So you, for those that don't know, you came up as a defensive coach. So you've coached linebackers, defensive line. You also played tight end though, which is pretty interesting at Chattanooga. When you look at Josh Heupel's offense, what impresses you about that? What stands out?
You know what? For how they play and what they do, how efficient everything is. And the biggest thing is how they run the football. You look at them running game wise and the stats, they run the football at you, and they're able to pop off runs and do those things. But I think the biggest thing now is I think they have a quarterback that can move that thing forward. It's the guy they've been looking for. And it looks like they're going to have him for a while. I guess he's redshirt freshman, whatever he is. But I think that's the thing is I think they have a guy that can move that offense forward now and a guy that can grow that offense and they can grow with it instead of, last couple of years, you got a guy for a year, 2 years, whatever it may be. I think that's the biggest thing I see for them. I think he's a good player. They got a good offense, but I think you're going to see them really hit their stride middle of the year when he gets some games under his belt and they're playing at a high level and doing things.
It's great insight.
Coach Wright, this is your, I believe, third time visiting Neyland Stadium as a coach, once as an assistant, once as a head coach in the past. I think you did in 2014 as an assistant and 2019 as a head coach.
Caleb does his homework. I will tell you that.
I had to think about that for a minute. Yeah,
I've covered Tennessee since 2000, and he brings up games that I was at and covered that I don't remember as well as him. So there you go.
Well, in both instances, to do some further homework, you visited Tennessee in 2014. They were on a 3-game losing streak. The program was not thinking they had a future with Butch Jones, but not there yet. And then you visited them in 2019, right after they had started 0-2 with losses to Georgia State and BYU with Jeremy Pruitt as head coach. The excitement and momentum surrounding the program, I think it's safe to say, is much, much, much higher this time you're visiting Tennessee.
No question. Yeah.
Does that make it even harder to prepare for the crowd noise at Neyland Stadium because or is it loud no matter what?
It's loud no matter. I mean, it's always been loud no matter what. You get 100,000. I don't even know how many holds over 100,000 people in there. It's loud. It doesn't matter. I know they'll be excited. The only thing I'm hoping is it's so hot that maybe there's a few less. Maybe they're drinking more just because it's so hot and they can't yell or something. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, we've played up there and it's been loud. It doesn't matter where that program is because those people are proud of that football team and they're excited about that football team no matter what's going on, and that's the thing. People are going to show up and watch those guys play.
Rusty, I'm not sure how much you recruit in Knoxville. I will say this for those, looking for a place to play. Rusty Wright's a fine man, fine individual. And I think Chattanooga has something special with you because you want to be there. And I remember you and I discussing that when you were first hired, and that's been tough for Chattanooga in the past. So what do you feel like Chattanooga is now as a football program, and where do you hope to be in 2 or 3 years?
Well, I hope we continue to get better and keep growing. That's the thing is that's why you do it. You want to make it better than how you found it and leave it. Whenever I've decided to leave it, you want to make it, that much better. I think we have an opportunity to have a good football team for a long period of time. I think our administration we just got new facilities. We're investing in these kids every day. We've changed things for them to make it as good as we can for them day in and day out. Knock on wood, we hadn't had a whole bunch of kids leave us to go transfer somewhere else and do those things. So something's right in the building, something's good in the building for them to want to stay. But at the end of the day, I just try to do the best job I can for the young people that are here. And, you brought that up about recruiting Knoxville. We do. We signed CJ Smith out of Knox West, whose dad played at Tennessee. CJ's going to be a really good player for us. A really good player for us. Probably shouldn't be here, but he's going to be a really good player for us. We signed more kids out of the state of Tennessee this year than we have since I've been here. Which is going to help us in the future, not because we decided to, just because they were good players and it worked out that way. So I think Chattanooga's got a place in college football to be a good football team. Whenever all this revenue sharing and these guys figure out what they're doing and they go on and do their deal, I'll be glad when the dust settles and I can kind of figure out my program again and what steps we take to continue trying to be good. But it's constantly changing. You got to change with it. You got to get it figured out, and we try to do the best we can down here.
Well, we've seen big time schools get poached by somebody with more money. It's not necessarily with a lower division. So, I mean, how much is that a part of your thinking day to day of, man, I could lose this guy or I could lose that guy? I mean, you could drive yourself crazy doing that stuff.
Yeah, I think the group of 5 guys have it worse than I do, honestly.
Okay. That's interesting.
Because, I mean, let's be honest. I may have 2 or 3 guys that are good players that are another level or 2 that could play at, maybe not start at, but could play at. A group of 5 guys, they don't have a chance. They're getting poached right and left. I mean, you have an all-conference kid at middle, he's gone the next year. He's out of there because somebody can pay him more, somebody can do that. Middle might not can pay him and pay one of mine enough to make it worthwhile leaving. They may not want to. One of my kids may not want to go to school in Murfreesboro. May don't want to live in Murfreesboro. Chattanooga's not a bad place to hang out and go to school. It's downtown's good. The university's good. We play good football. That's the thing. So I think the group of 5 folks have it a little worse than we do. But, it's like I tell our coaches all the time. I'm like, if we have somebody transfer, you got to treat it just like the first day of fall camp. They got hurt, and we got to get it figured out. We got to figure out, before then, if they leave, great. If they leave in the spring, you got to treat it just like they got hurt first day of fall camp. We don't have them for the year. So what are we going to do? We're going to bitch and complain about it and cry, or are we going to go try and find a way to figure it out and go win? So that's just kind of how I look at it, I mean, and we knock on wood, we've been fortunate. Kids we've taken transfer wise have usually been good people, good players. They fit what we do. We don't take a whole bunch of, I'm trying to get away from taking transfer kids. There's nothing wrong with them. Don't get me wrong. Like my quarterback is, I got some other guys. But we're going to try and sign as many high school kids as we can moving forward, because I think there's just too many high school kids out there. I think our last 2 high school classes have been phenomenal people and the best players we've had signed here.
Coach, when I looked into y'all's program, so I think you guys have 15 starters back from last year. I think that number's right? And
sounds about right. Yeah.
Yep. And, Tennessee at their level, with the way they operated the NIL, they focused a lot more on returning a lot of talent this year than they did on going after new talent. It's kind of a model that Michigan adopted last year, which I think helped them win the national championship. In this new age of college football, whether it be at Chattanooga or at Tennessee, do you think people are underestimating the advantage of having a bunch of guys who have played together for a couple of years coming back and returning to play for that team?
There's something to be said about it. I think what you could go into a season thinking you have a lot of good players, but you may not have a football team. And you see it happen. Not always the best players win. The best football team winds up winning when it's all said and done. And you got to get figured out. And that's the one thing that's different in our sport now than it has been in years past. Even though I've got 15 guys coming back, we've added new pieces to it, and people from other programs and those kind of things are going to be a part of our team this year. I got to figure out what my football team is at some point in time this year. I got an idea, but I'm not really sure until we go out there and play and see how some of those guys react and see how some of those guys are. And, playing for the name on the front is probably not as important as it used to be for some guys. And they're only playing for the name on the back, and that'll be interesting when things get hard. And you'll see it. If somebody's not having a good year, you're going to see a bunch of people bail out at some point in time. And it's going to get interesting for some people. And my thing is, some of them spend a lot of money. Some of them spend a lot of money to bring them in. And if it's not going well, it's going to be a lot of money walking out the door. So I don't know.
Very insightful. Rusty, I just want to leave you with this, and that is give some shout outs, guys that have had great camps, your players that you're in particularly proud of. I've looked over your roster, done my homework, but I don't know who's had fantastic camps. So who are some guys that you just want to say, hey, these guys are who you build teams around?
Well, I mean, you look at us defensively, Marlon Taylor, Quay Wiggles are defensive tackle and 3 technique. Alex Mitchell from Riverdale High School in Murfreesboro is our starting Mike linebacker. Had a really good camp, really smart, really good football player. Josh Walker and Jordan Battle, our 2 safeties, are phenomenal young men, have played a lot of football for us and going to be good players at our level again this year. Ruben Lowry is a young man who plays nickel for us. He graduated with an engineering degree last year, and he's back for his final year. And I'm telling you, phenomenal young, but a really good player. And then offensively, you got our center, Reed Williams, who's been with us the whole time since I've been here from Ringgold, Georgia. Does a great job. Another engineering student, 4.0 student, really good player. And then, we got Sam Phillips, Nunu Watley, wide receivers, those guys. We got a lot of good kids doing a lot of good things that had really good camps and busted their tails to try and have a good year.
Well, you're doing a lot of great things. I know you're busy. Thank you very much for the time. Best of luck on Saturday and have a fantastic season, sir.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
One, Coach.
Rusty Wright, that was fantastic. We loved that.